So Fox News is going to debate marijuana with somebody who has no clue what the fuck they're talking about and somebody else who does know what they're talking about, and special needs Brian Kilmeade in the middle. So let's listen to them from the center of the Twilight Zone talk about a California initiative which mandates that 2% of medical weed has to go to low-income people who need it.
A new law requiring medical marijuana dispensaries to give away at least 2% of their weed to low-income patients. Here to react is recovering drug addict and head of the International Faith-Based Coalition, Bishop Ron Allen, and Mesa Tuvert. He is the Director of Communications for the Marijuana Policy Project. So Reverend, what do you think about this?
I think it's ludicrous, over-the-top madness. Why would Berkeley City Council want to keep their poverty-stricken, underserved, high, in poverty and lethargic? It's absolutely mind-boggling and absolutely ridiculous for Berkeley City Council to make such a suggestion and then to put this in motion. Makes no sense at all.
Mason, are you for dumping pot on the impoverished?
Well, I think that we need to look at this for what it is, which is medical marijuana is legal in California. 85% of Americans, according to Fox News' last poll, support medical marijuana. And it's up to this community to decide if they'd like to have a program that allows low-income individuals to have access to it. And that's really their decision. So it's a matter of the democratic process, people following the state's laws, and this law appears to accommodate both of those.
Right. So first off, let's take a look at the stat as it comes to Berkeley. Their poverty rate is 18%. The U.S. poverty rate is 15%, so it's slightly up. Bishop, does it necessarily, do you look at medical marijuana different than you would OxyContin or any other type of medicine? Or are we just looking at the connotation of recreational drugs and misconstruing it?
Well, research tells us that marijuana has the same effects on the pleasure central system in the brain as heroin, cocaine, crack cocaine, and so it's no difference at all.
Jason, how do you feel about that?
Well, Bishop, with all due respect, your suggestion that marijuana has the same effect as heroin and crack cocaine really just suggests that you don't know what you're talking about, quite frankly. I mean, the fact is, marijuana is proven to be less toxic and less addictive, not only than those drugs, but than alcohol.
That was awesome, that last part. No, but that's insanely stupid. You're going to have somebody on to debate the issue of marijuana, and they're going to make the claim that marijuana is the same as crack or heroin? Those drugs could not be more different. All of them could not be more different. So heroin is, an opiate, and it's going to massively calm you down and relax you. It's a big-time downer. It's going to slow your heart rate, okay? Crack is a massive upper. It's going to make you want to start a business overnight and run for Congress and mend all the fences with people you had arguments your entire life and run a fucking marathon. So even those two drugs are wildly different, but you're going to say that they're similar and they're all like weed? No, but weed, out of all those drugs, weed is not addictive at all. Heroin is addictive, crack is addictive, and they're both very addictive, and marijuana is not physically addictive at all, okay? And it's a vastly different high, and it's also psychoactive as opposed to the other two drugs. It's more of an upper and a downer. So what you have is somebody who is just profoundly and preposterously drug ignorant, discussing the issue of drugs as if they're some sort of an expert. But then I realized, because they mentioned it quickly at the beginning there, Kilmeade laid it out, he said he's a recovering drug addict and a bishop. Oh, so this is a guy whose life was in shambles because he was addicted to drugs, and now all of a sudden he thinks he's an expert, and he just goes around preaching and telling people to not do the shit that he did. But I got news for you, Bishop. Just because you couldn't recreationally use drugs and handle yourself, and you have a massively addictive personality, does not mean that everybody's like that. I can't tell you how many times on the show I've made this point, but the overwhelming majority of drug users are moderate people. They can have a job, they can hold down a job, they can have friends and have a family and be a normal functioning person. But on the weekends, just like you might go out and have a few Coronas with your buddies, on the weekend somebody might want to smoke a joint or a blunt or something and hang out and watch some TV. But they just can't get it through their heads because they're so used to the culture in America, which, as you know, while they were growing up, and of course until very recently, people would say just say no, the just say no, the whole DARE movement, drug abuse resistance education, where they lump all drugs together and they say, oh no, it's bad, you can never use it recreationally. Anyway, you want to go to a bar and pound down tequila shots. But this is Fox News 101, man. Like I said, it's the Twilight Zone. And I also love when he said, it works on the pleasure central system. The pleasure central system. The pleasure central system. Pleasure Central sounds like a porn TV channel. There's no pleasure central systems. You mean the pleasure centers in the brain? And which ones are you talking about specifically? Are you talking about chemicals? What are you talking? Are you talking about dopamine? You talking about serotonin? You talking about norepinephrine? You talking about oxytocin? You talking about GABA? What are you talking about? But he doesn't know these things. This science is above his head. And finally, look, on the issue of, does this new law make sense to take 2% of your weed if you're a medical dispensary and to give it to low-income people? I actually like it. I do, because... And to be fair, I get it. Like a lot of the medical movement in like California, for example, like the medical dispensaries. Yeah, a lot of people get medical cards and they just get them because they get them, but then they use it recreationally. And I'm cool with that. I'm fine with that. But in terms of giving 2% of your weed to the low income people, I do think, maybe I'm naive for thinking this, but I do think they actually will reserve the weed for people who are low income and actually need it to treat a medical problem. So I'm in favor of it. I think it could be a great law. I think it will work out for the better. But Fox News is out, on fucking Neptune talking about this issue. They're not even cool with medical weed. Never mind decriminalizing, which is a no-brainer. Never mind what I want to do, which is going all the way to legalizing.